Wow, wow. If you're not poisoned before, we make sure that you're now truly poisoned. All right. How's everything doing? Well, look at the... I love this. I love this, absolutely. Thank you so much for coming out. There are a few more seats up here. What's our theme for 2019?
Best in class.
Oh, so you guys are so busy still talking to the neighbor. That's great. What's our theme for 2019?
Best in class.
Now, you weren't talking, you were eating. All right, that's the point. All right, swallow, swallow, swallow. No more bites, no more bites. What's the theme for 2019?
Best in class.
All right, super. Thank you so much for coming out today. And I'm trying to get everybody, all right, situated. Wonderful. Now, we do have a full agenda today, so thank you very much for everybody on the phone and for you coming in. Anybody wants to share? How do we start with at CareDx? We start with? Successes. So what's a success to share right now? Anybody wants to share a success? Oh, surprise.
We met goal. We met goal.
We met goal. What does we met goal mean?
Reimbursement has met the goal for the quarter.
All right. And we have 4 more days to go. Wow. But you know, the reimbursement team actually has hit gold many, many times, so that's not a real surprise. But that's really cool. We all met the goal. Any other success to share? Maybe somebody on the phone? Well, I share with you a success. Last night I sat in Boston together with a team that rolls out right now our bone marrow transplant software program at Dana-Farber. Dana-Farber is the largest bone marrow transplant program in the world. And we are installing the auto software on top of Epic and making a huge difference because the workflow for bone marrow transplant patients is incredibly difficult and takes over months and months until they finally get their bone marrow transplant. So think about us now linking our HLA information and all the other informations that we do into this database and allowing patients to be managed in bone marrow transplant as well. Isn't that cool? Mm-hmm. It's also cool. It was a 2-year project that went live just 2 weeks ago. So congratulations to the team. So after 2 years, congratulations to the... It's really cool. All right. Now, we do make a bit best in class 2019, a very exciting time. So thank you for helping me out. We do a roll call. Westchester, are you here? That doesn't work anymore, Judith. All right. All right. Now, I asked Sasha to introduce our patient guest speaker and then a surprise guest as well today. So, Sasha, please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So we're very excited to have Jana here as our guest speaker. I was lucky to have a chance to chat with her right before coming in, but she's had an incredible experience, not only through her own journey as a heart patient, but also with her experiences with AlloMap and CareDx as well. So, Jana, thank you so much.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Jana Kemp, and just to give you a quick background on my heart and history and transplant experience, I was actually diagnosed with HOCM, or hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, when I was 12 years old, following my brother, who was 3 years older, and I stayed okay until about 2011. End of 2011, I started going into heart failure, and it proved to be about a 3-year journey until I was transplanted in 2014. Yep, that pretty much tells most of it, but I did skip over a lot of the stuff. So 2011 started with a partial right brachial arterial embolism, which is, I don't know if you guys know this, but that's actually really rare. It doesn't usually go into your right arm. Usually it goes somewhere like, your brain, your lungs, legs, someplace like that, and the doctors are all like, this is really weird. And I'm like, hey, I don't know. I'm not going to question it. I'm just glad that it went there and not anywhere else. So it was easy to remove, got a nice big scar. I like to tell people I got into a knife fight, and the other guy looks a lot worse, which is funny for those of you who are on the call. I'm only 4'11", so maybe 4'12" right now because I've got heels on. About 100 pounds, so not very intimidating. So 2012 went into just worsening heart failure. I have had one thing after another until being in the hospital continually for almost a year at UVA, which is an hour and a half from my house. So I was away from my son, I was away from my parents, I was away from my family and my friends and my work. And I tried to continue working in the hospital, but being in project management and trying to manage designers didn't work so well because you kind of have to be in the office to see what's going on and making sure that other people aren't slipping projects in onto them without your knowledge, because that happens a lot at my office. So 2014, I was able to finally get a heart. I'm small, and I'm blood type O, so it made things it made the options far and few between. And so my cardiology team actually opened it up and said, well, you know, she can have a high-risk donor. Let's see what kind of options she has out there. And so within a couple weeks, got a hit, and my cardiologist actually came in and told me, don't eat anything else, because I had dropped down to about 79 pounds going into the hospital, and they're like, I don't care what you eat ice cream every day, eat whatever you want. You want chips? Fine, have them. I was not following a cardiac diet. They're like, we'll take care of the overdose on salt, you know, we'll pull it off the next day, it's fine, just eat. So he comes in, he's like, have you had dinner? And I'm like, yeah, I ate really well, too. You know, I had salad, I had steak, I ate. And he's like, okay, don't eat anything else. Why not? He's like, well, there might be a donor for you. And I'm like, oh, are you kidding? Is this a joke? So I had actually, about a month ago, or a month before that, I was feeling really good and decided to play a prank on him, and I hid behind the door because when you came into my room there was actually 2 doors. So I hid behind the door, and right as he walked through I jumped out and said boo. It was worth it to see the look on his face. He was not expecting that. So I was like, okay, this is payback. He's going to pull one over on me, and he's like, no, I'm serious. So I said, oh, okay, all right. So he explained, it's a high-risk donor, and, I had the chance to say no. And I'm like, well, I don't really know if that's a good idea. I mean, what would you do? And he said, you've been here, almost a year. This is the first chance you've had. He's like, you should probably take it. So I said, okay, all right, we'll go for it. So I was transplanted within 24 hours, and I have been doing absolutely wonderful since then. I've had one bout of mild rejection and more biopsies than I can count, but probably 6 to 12 less than I would have if it hadn't been for really everybody in this room. So for letting me have an AlloMap and, bringing that to fruition. I mean, that is such a huge thing for patients to be able to go get a lab draw versus a few hours in the hospital. And I don't know if any of you have ever had heart catheterizations or biopsies, but if they go through the groin, you have to lay flat for 4 hours. That is the worst part of any biopsy and catheterization ever. Because invariably, they pump you full of fluid, and then they make you lay flat for 4 hours. And you're like, no, you can't go to the bathroom. You can't get up. You can't do anything until, make sure the artery is clotted. And that is torture. But, so it's worth it not to have any more, not to have as many biopsies. So, does anybody have any questions? Certainly. Yep. The only thing I know about my donor is that it was a young woman. I did receive a letter from her parents. She was actually a multiple organ donor, and I received a letter from them. They didn't say a lot, just that she would be glad to know that her heart went to somebody, and her organs went to somebody who was able to use them. So I was transplanted in 2014 in May, and in 2016 I legally changed my name to Jana Beth Ann Kemp, and Beth was my donor's name. So I added Beth to it as a way to honor her and thank her for giving me a second chance at life. So my son's now 13, and so, yep. Yes?
So what made her high risk, and does that mean that you have to do more monitoring?
No more monitoring. It just meant that there was actually, because that was a very good question. I asked my cardiologist the same thing. I said, well, what does this mean? And he said, well, there's a chance that there could be other complications with the heart. So she tested positive for inhaled methamphetamine use. So, and you know, there's no way to know how prolonged the use was or anything else, but I haven't had any problems. So it was a good fit. Does anybody have any questions?
What did you do to celebrate your 5-year anniversary?
Oh, let's see. Last month. This is a while ago. I think we had family over. And now when I got out of the hospital was a much bigger celebration. Being in the hospital for almost a year was an experience. We had a huge party, invited everybody we know. We're not really south, but you know, we're sort of south, so we roasted a whole pig on a huge grill. Had everybody, well, probably 50 or 70 people over to the house, to celebrate me being home. And it was, you know, my birthday was in June, so it was nice because I had my, I'm sorry, repeat your question? Nope. Yeah. So my birthday was in June, so I had the transplant in May, and then about a month later I had celebrated my birthday. And so we had everybody over to celebrate me being home, my birthday, the transplant, and just kind of a way, too, to say thank you for, I had people literally all over the world, praying for me and celebrating with me, so.
You were sharing earlier that your eighth year birthday of your son, you celebrated.
Yes.
So how did you feel when he was leaving the hospital on that day?
I think I was tired. I was tired that day. So we had actually, I made a lot of friends while I was in the hospital. So sometimes with it being a teaching hospital, random people would come by my room and the nurses would be like, oh yeah, she's been here for a while. Go talk to her. See what recommendations she can give you for improving the process. And I knew maintenance workers. I knew cafeteria people, pretty much anybody and everybody that may have crossed my path. So one of the people in charge of the emergency response team came by my room one day, completely a fluke, and we struck up a conversation, and I told him that my son's birthday was coming up and that he really, really liked helicopters and the Pegasus team. He was fascinated. So we arranged for his 8th birthday for him to be up there in the hospital and to take him up to the rooftop helipad. And the Pegasus team came down, and they were going to take him for a ride, but the weather, it snowed that day. I was so excited to have snow in Charlottesville, and then, I didn't get any except for that day. So, but it was good because we actually made arrangements to go to the airfield a few miles away after I was released from the hospital, and we got to see the helicopter again, and it was quite an experience. But so I was exhausted because I went up to the rooftop helipad also. And it was cold, and I was scared that, because I didn't have a hold on him, and he's running over to the edge, fearless, running over the edge, looking over, and I'm going, stop, you're going to slide right off. But, it was hard. Whenever he would come up and visit, I was torn between wanting to get up, and I wanted to show him around and do things, but then I would be exhausted, and it was very limiting as to how much time I could, really spend with him. And so I had a Wii in my room, so he would come up, and he was very into Skylanders at the time. So he would want me to play Skylanders with him, and I'd be good for, a round or two. And then I'm like, all right, I need to take a nap. He's like, you're so old, Mom. I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. So, yeah. Are there any other questions, or? We assume that there is because, my brother had it also. I mean, logic tells us there has to be something. There's no trace of it in our family medical history. That doesn't mean it's not there. It just means they haven't found it. My son has been tested, and so far, fingers crossed, there hasn't been any sign of the genetic mutation. So, yep.
Are you on a lot of, what kind of supporting medications do you take? How do you find that aspect of post-transplant life?
The medications aren't a problem. I have never liked to take pills. So I will say the first probably month after transplant, it was kind of a struggle. because some of the pills were big. They've cut back, and they're all much smaller now. I can take, in fact, I've got my pill container on me. I usually try to just carry it around on me. So I carry this around with me, and I just pop it open, and I can swallow all of them at once. So I take roughly a handful in the morning and a smaller handful at night, and it's twice a day. It's, I don't, people see me in restaurants, I'm just, chugging a bunch of pills, and I'm like, I had a transplant, these are all prescription. It's a little weird traveling through the airport, because I'm always like, somebody's gonna stop me and be like, what are all these? And I can't have a booklet of, prescriptions with me to show them, I have to have these. So, yeah, it's not bad. My friends they'll stop on my desk sometimes at work, and they'll be like, did you just take all those pills at once? I'm like, yeah. 5 years, you'd be doing the same thing. Yeah, twice a day. And that's cut back. It was 4 times a day when I first came out, and then 3 times, and now I'm down to 2 times. And so specifically, I'm on prednisone, I'm on sirolimus, tacrolimus, and then they have found, doctors, cardiology teams have found that it's better to actually put patients on not a beta blocker, but a blood pressure medicine and a cholesterol medicine as a preventative measure, because it's much easier to prevent cardiovascular disease than it is to treat it. So, and also with transplanted patients, there is a higher chance of your heart actually becoming hardened or sclerosed. So they found that it makes it last longer, which I'm all for. I'm not ready to repeat the experience quite yet. It wasn't bad. I'd do it all over again in a heartbeat, but I don't want to tomorrow, I'd like to get at least, 100 years out of this heart. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, of course.
Thank you.
So we also have a second special guest speaker today, and so Audrey Cleek here is the Chief Heart Failure and Transplant Officer at Columbia out in New York City, and she's joined us here in California, actually taking a day from her vacation in San Francisco to spend with us, share insights back with us of what we can be doing better to help support her and help support the patients at Columbia. And so Audrey, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your experience and rocking some red CareDx socks for everyone who can see in the room. Thank you, Audrey.
All right, I hope there's a really high honorarium for wearing these socks. I'm just saying. All right, so 2 mean things happened to me today at CareDx. The first mean thing was that I was asked to wear these socks. The meaner thing of the 2 things is having to speak right after a heart transplant patient. So, Jana, I so appreciate you and your story. And look, now my little tag's coming off. It's a sign, right? And I just want to make sure you got your pills off the podium. Thank you for hosting me today, Shyla. It's been an amazing day. Thank you, Peter, for allowing me to come out to headquarters today. And to the entire team, where's Todd? Todd, you and your team are phenomenal in the support that they give me back home. And Jim, it was really a privilege to meet you today. Paul and Susan, thank you for the tour of the lab. I've learned so much today just in being able to meet with all of you and interact with you. So in my day-to-day job at Columbia for the past 4 years, I'm responsible not only for patient care as a practicing heart failure and heart transplant nurse practitioner, but also for the clinical operations of my program on a day-to-day basis. I've been in the space of advanced heart failure, mechanical circulatory support, and heart transplantation for the past 15 years of my career. I've been a nurse for 21 of those years. I've been a nurse practitioner for 12, so I got started in the specialty even prior to obtaining my advanced degree. As I shared with Shyla earlier, perhaps I'm a bit crazy, but I'm back in school. I'm working on my doctorate of nursing practice simultaneously with my MBA because I feel very passionate. I care very much for our patients and caregivers, and I see my role as, for the next 20 years of my career, being able to impact patients from a business perspective to make sure that things that we're doing, that we're providing, that we're offering are truly impacting patients in the most positive way, and that we're not just doing things because we can do them. So therefore, I appreciate everything that you do here at CareDx, because I knew for a long time, but being able to come out here today showed me actually that everything that you're doing at the end of the day truly helps our patients. And I think Jenna is a great example of that. And it's really a privilege to be able to be here, but also know that what we do as sort of industry and clinical combined really does help somebody at the end of the day. So thank you again for hosting me. I can't wait to get these socks off. And if a picture of me shows up on Instagram with these socks, wow.
Audrey, thank you so much. Thank you. That was awesome. Wow. Talking about a hard act to follow after a patient and Audrey, that's really amazing. Thank you so much. Judith, there is another presentation that I just have in the folder. Would you be able to pull that up from this, or no? Yeah, no, not in the Nophill folder, in the G Drive folder, no? No, good. Then we'll go with this presentation, which is even better because it has been a few hours late. Let me just go. Perfect. If that presentation is not in here, then I'll do that. But it is. Did you see the change in the first page on our corporate presentation? Did you see it? What's different? It's now 2 patients. Well, 1 recipient and 1 donor. We're really spreading the wings as the organization into not only caring for transplant patients, but also for their donors. And when you were all clapping about the story, about the donors, behind a heart transplant story, there's always another story, a family that has lost a loved one. And a kidney transplant patient, sometimes that's the case, but sometimes it's really your next door neighbor, your brother, or somebody that altruistically decided to provide an organ. And caring for both components in transplantation is incredibly important for us as an organization as we continue to grow, and very exciting and an opportunity. This is a page which I have more and more dear and dear to my heart, and I just shared with you the experience in Boston. I really think that standardization, personalization, compliance and adherence, and immune modulation is the framework for us to extend 3 years of life. There are very few healthcare companies that can build a framework that says, actually what we're doing here at the company has the promise to extend life by 3 years. You just heard this heart should go 100 years. Right? It's really important. And being able to work for an organization that actually impacts that, it has a framework, but now it's all about making that happen. So when I'm talking about strategy, it is about how do we grow as an organization and make that happen. And it's really these 2 axes. We can increase on the products, but we also can increase on the digitalization. And Mike Bell and I were sitting in a car, and I don't know who came up with the idea, but we have now 3 lines of businesses. The first one is testing service. The second one is products, and the third one is a really sexy one. It's called digital. All right? Who has heard the word digital health? Who has heard the word digital biomarkers? Yeah? So we're now a company that's moving our software presence into a digital opportunity. Now, what that really means, today it means software for hospitals, but it really can mean so much more going forward. I was just sharing with a patient, maybe one day we'll have an Apple Watch that starts in the morning, every day giving a green light to the patient, giving them peace of mind. Wouldn't that be cool, be the company that can provide that interaction? Wouldn't it be cool to be a company that has a patient app that tells them, this is the time to take your medication? Compliance and adherence is a big issue. And we're at the forefront of making that happen in transplantation. It's very exciting. Now, we do focus on the continuum. And it's very important that we understand there's organ shortage. There continues to be organ shortage. There's organ matching as an opportunity for us. And then precision and compliance in the post-transplant space. with this longitudinal data management that you see at the bottom of this page, we really can make a huge difference. We can be extremely more efficient, we can be extremely more cost saving, and we can be extremely faster in making organs available, having them transplanted, and then making sure that patients are being cared for in an optimal way. Now, we do that by a much more complicated page. And I'm not going to talk you through that, but there are numerous areas that we as a company, and here on the right-hand side you see HLA matching, but if you see that landscape filled in, we are placing now our dots on the map, right? We have HLA matching in the first front, then we have post-transplant surveillance on the right-hand side. We do clinical information with our clinical trials. We now add the software business. We're adding relationships with pharmaceuticals. We're doing all kinds of things to become more relevant as the partner in transplant care. I was with Craig Quinn early this morning. We were on the phone, and then somebody said, oh, somebody else is providing an assay. I don't really know what that means. And that individual was actually hired by us 3 months ago. Can you imagine? She didn't know what an assay was, which made me smile, because we are providing a testing service. We are counting patient results. We are making a difference in patients' lives. We're not selling assays. Yeah? So this concept about forget the word assay. And we've been really positively influencing about making sure that people don't talk about assays. We're talking about patient results. Great. Now, organizing for success. Greg is on the call, or is he here? Is he actually here? He's out in the field. So, Greg, are you going to give the talk via video?
I got volunteered.
Ah, the better-looking Greg.
Yeah.
I'm joking. I'm joking. That's really hard, by the way, for this group of people. Well, I let Paul talk, but before I hand over to Paul, I wanted to make sure that as we're building out the mode in transplantation, right, we have these overlapping activities. On the one hand, we have AlloMap, we have AlloSure, and now we have KOR, we have with Otter, we have all these HLA typing, we have all these different things. So we become more and more relevant. So we are not anymore an assay company. We are really the partner in transplant care. The American Transplant Congress was a sea change for us as an organization, because it was really, you could feel we're it. And you know, if a coordinator from Colombia, which is one of the leading transplant centers in the world, stands up in front of this organization and puts red CareDx socks on, we're doing something right. Because we're getting the mix right between being patient-centric, being focused on great technology, but also being relevant and having a bit fun with it. Because at the end of the day, all of you hope come to work, support the mission, but also really enjoy what you're doing. Before we talk with Paul, I did want to make sure that Marissa and I, we were exchanging information on the patient engagement survey that we'd like to launch, and I just put a plug in there, because I think it's very important for us as an organization that you get the feeling that as we are growing and growing, that you have a voice and you're being listened to. It's going to be more difficult. You know, there was a time where there were 40 people in the organization, and when you had an issue, you were walking up to Peter's door, and when it was good news, when it was bad news, you would talk to Marissa. No, I'm joking. No, but I think there is this time where we need to start listening and hearing what's on your mind, even in different locations. That might be easier in Brisbane, might be more difficult in Stockholm, might be more difficult in Fremantle because of time zones. But this patient engagement, the employee engagement is very critical for us. Marissa, did you want to say a word on that?
Sure.
Unprompted?
Yeah, exactly. So we tested out an employee engagement survey with the leadership team when we were at ATC. And there's a variety of different employee engagement surveys that one can use, but we are going to use a survey by Gallup, and I'm sure that's a name that sounds familiar to you. It's an organization that's been involved in doing research on employee engagement for years. They've got a pool of 38 million employees that they have chatted with, and they've created a survey that's only 12 questions. So one of the things that I really love about this employee engagement survey is it would really take you less than 5 minutes to participate in the survey and have your voices heard and give us some future direction, some things to work on. We know that there's probably some things that we're doing really well, and that's great. And we know that there's probably some things that we need to work on as an organization, and we'd like to do that together with you.
Great. Thank you very much, Marissa. And when we've had the first results, you know what we scored off the charts on? Off the charts? Mission and vision, right? Everybody is super excited. So I shouldn't give, this is biasing now, the poll. So mission and vision, right? All right. All right. I'm not going to say more. But no, it's very exciting. In that context, when Paul came on, I could immediately sense that this is an individual that is buying into patient centricity, is really wanting to make a difference for patients, but also wants to make a difference in an organization. Paul, thank you very much for coming up today. Thank you. Give Paul a round of applause.
Oh, okay. So it's a great way for the new person to meet everybody at once. So this is terrific. Appreciate the confidence in letting someone who hadn't been here 3 weeks address the entire company. So I do my best to do it justice. So I guess later I'll get to share my fun fact slide and everything. So I'll preempt that. But I'm Paul Williams. I am one of the 3 GMs that the company has aligned and oriented around. I think 2 new ones joining Greg to kind of reshape and lead the new model in terms of what we're doing in the field. So we were asked to talk about how that organizing for success looks like in the field. And, before I jump in, it's with the growth that the company has been on and will continue to be on, there's a lot of work that needs to be done center by center, not only in educating and getting centers to adopt surveillance and bring it on board, but even after they get on the other side of that curve, how do you keep them going and maintain that? So there's a lot of effort that happens on both sides of that. And the new model that we're going to, hopefully as I kind of share with you what that looks like, hopefully you'll see how that supports that, both sides of that, which is really important. So okay. There we go. All right. So evolving the field team model, not only for today, but for the future. I think there's a little bit of how does this new structure and model position us to deliver what we need to deliver today, but also prepare us for where the company wants to grow in the future. So we've expanded the number of resources, which is really important. We've added more MSLs, more TAMs, more patient care managers, which is fantastic. Implementing this general management model over top of that, really to just bring an element of structure so that we can really deliver around this center-based approach. And so all those resources really will enable us, I think, to do what we want to do center by center, and the amount of work that it takes to really engage these centers as they adopt the products. But at the end of the day, too, we want to be able to inflect this 20-day average, right? That's, I think, Peter's #1 metric. So I think that's part of the goal is we bring these resources to bear and we spend more time and get deeper into these centers. The result of that will be improving that 20-day average, and I think that's what we're looking to do. But also to continue to drive adoption, not only through protocol, but all the way into ultimately to consensus. I think that's really what we want to look at so that every patient has an opportunity to be on surveillance at that particular center. At the same time, there's an element of I think improving just line of sight decision making and execution, and I think that's important too. When you have 15 or 20 people and all out there, you can manage that, but as you expand to 45 and greater, you need to establish a little more line of sight and also shorten that time to decision making so things can happen in the moment as opposed to maybe having to move around an organization to ultimately get to that decision. And so I think that helps both from a leadership standpoint. I think it also helps for the people that are in the trenches. They can get answers quickly, and that's important. And then in general, just overall streamlining communication. So There's a long list of benefits to having GMs. I think Reg's list is probably could probably take up 4 or 5 slides. I just tried to pick a few of the highlights there, but a lot to do. But as much as what's happening with the field teams, I think it's important to note that under Reg, we've established a business leadership team so that there's real good connectivity around strategy, whether that's from a marketing standpoint, from a clinical standpoint, from what's happening with the patients, the work Hal's doing. So feel good that while you have this team in the field, there's a direct connectivity on a consistent basis with what we're ultimately trying to do and grow as an organization from a strategy standpoint. I think that's important to have. So what does it look like? So we've broken the United States up into 3 regions, West, Central. Angela will start on July 8th in the East. The colors may not look like nice and clean and level, but when you roll all this up, there's a nice even proportion of centers and transplant potential across the 3 regions. But you can see how that breaks out. Colors are a little dark, but we'll work on that. And then how does that look when you actually get down to the territory team? And this is really where I think the model really gets us to a place where we want to be. You've got all of these folks, as you see here, this is an example of the Mid-Atlantic team. All of these people can have a collaborative, concentrated effort center by center. And this is really, really important. This is really what will make the model go in terms of communication. Each of them certainly has a role to play relative to their functional area of expertise, but at the same time, there's a level of collaboration going back and forth and the ability to, one, get more done within a center, but also within their particular territories, really move those centers in terms of where they are and their overall level of adoption. So that's just a snapshot of what we're doing in the field. We just implemented and communicated the model about 3 weeks ago. So a change, everything takes a little bit for folks to get comfortable with it. So we're working through that process. But at this point, I think things are really moving in the right direction. So hopefully that is helpful. Maybe gives you a little more context around what we rolled out a few weeks ago. So good.
Great.
All right. Yeah. Glad to be here too.
Any questions for Paul? Or maybe for the team? Any thoughts? No? Does anybody know what CRA stands for? All right, this Marissa is trying to. Clinical Research Assistant. That's anybody know what MSL stands for? No, right? That's an easy one. But PCM? Patient Care Manager, right? FLSR.
Field Lab Services Rep.
Field Lab Services Rep. Making sure that we get the blood through and making sure that we actually get lab sites trained and up and running. The TAM is easy, right? Transplant Account Manager. All right. No, you think this building this mini village in every region, cross-functionally, and making sure that we can service centers very different and very focused. Yeah, well, different maybe is the wrong word. Very focused because we have been serving them. So we're not changing that much. We're just making sure that this quick decision making is possible. Great, and I do like the increase in 20-day average as well. That is absolutely true. I do think that, right now the lab is very busy, and Paul is doing an excellent job with Susan, with everybody in the lab. And, sorry, you're busy. Great, you're busy. So give a round of applause to the staff in the lab. I could go on for another 2 minutes, so, no? I'm joking. No, I do want to make sure that we appreciate each other, because right now what's happening is that we have 3 days a week where we're really busy. We're really, really busy. What's the new peak number, Paul?
Well, it's 220 probably, or like that.
220 peak?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. And that's just Alloshore?
That's just Alloshore, right.
Now you add on top of it a little bit of Alloman?
Over 300 with both tests.
So the new peak is 300 patient results a day. I can tell you that Susan and I standing in the room and we were celebrating 50, right? And once a while it happened like maybe every 3 weeks or so, right? And so 300 is amazing. 300 patients being cared for by CareDx. That's absolutely amazing. But it also means, and that was maybe what we didn't say when Audrey was here, is that sometimes things happen. Sometimes things happen. Should they happen? No, they don't. But when they happen, let's be responsible and do the maximum in order to make sure that patients or clinicians or centers that are affected by our mistake are being cared for. And what Sasha did was to say, well, for every center where we made a mistake, let's invite the coordinator to come into our company and have them show and see what we can improve and what we're doing. And that was the history, right, for Audrey Kemp. Do you think that our relationship with Columbia today has increased? Absolutely. So we were able to change from an error that we made into a stronger relationship going forward, potentially helping us in the future to make less mistakes going forward. So let's make sure we give a round of applause to Sasha and the team for doing such an excellent job of All right. AlloSeq update with Haley. Haley, are you on the call?
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Haley.
Hi, so now that we would like to focus on the AlloSeq products that are being developed in and produced in Fremantle, getting ready for launch so that we can impact patients through genetic matching. So a quick update on the AlloSeq TX17 product. So this is a genetic matching for transplantation using hybrid capture technology, currently in development. We're targeting 17 loci, including HLA and McA-McB, all the factors that are known to impact transplant outcome. And through the development, we've seen a great success in increased read on targets from 35% back in December to nearly 75% today. What this means is that we can multiplex more samples per sequencing run, increasing the throughput of laboratory and decreasing the cost of setting up the samples. So we've been able to show with the AlloSeq TX products that we've successfully sequenced the genotype 24 samples on a microflow cell and 48 on a standard flow cell. So the couple of photos there are our development team, Chris and Nikki, busy in the lab generating all the data for the development of this assay. We have the pilot builds underway at the moment, and we're preparing to run the formal verification testing as part of product development for the TX product. Next slide, please. So,
It was Sasha.
So one of the exciting things that we've been able to develop during this ongoing product is some of the efforts by Chris Newbound looking at the information that we can actually get from this assay as opposed to the traditional long-range PCR assays. And using the hybrid capture method, we can actually look at the mean coverage across the loci and actually identify cases where there has been a haplotype update on the LSE product range from Fremantle.
I don't know if David is on the call as well, but Haley and the team is doing a phenomenal job. It's AlloSeq TX17 is a really best-in-class product. We're going to have a product which is best in class, second to none, when wanting to do matching. Isn't that exciting? And AlloSeq cell-free DNA starting to be manufactured, ready for commercial distribution, makes basically AlloSure available in the rest of the world. Cell-free DNA testing now available outside of the US. Wow, isn't that cool? David, any comments from your side, David Sayer? He probably delegated all the comments to Haley.
Yeah, I think he's on the line. He might be muted.
Yeah, no, perfect. Any questions to Haley? Alex, are you excited about this development?
Extremely excited. And our customers are too, because their patients are going to get products that truly change how they're managed.
All right.
It's really exciting around the world.
Super. The man that never sleeps. Thank you, Alex. All right. Thank you. Then IT update with Scott. Scott, are you ready?
I only have one quick update, and it's super important.
Then come on up. Everybody wants to see your great CareDx T-shirt. It's awesome. Thank you for wearing the color in their two microphones.
So last week, last town hall we talked about updating. Make sure your guys' contacts are updated as far as on the correct distribution list. So I know there's some people that did not receive the invite for today. It's because they weren't on one of those lists. So make sure everybody go look. Make sure you're on a location distribution list in the system, and that's how you get invited to this important meeting. So that's the only real important one I have right now.
So for those that are not in the meeting, how are they going to get the invitation? I'm just
no, you got a good point there, huh? It's a never-ending cycle.
But that's the village, right? So spread the love and spread the news, okay? Out of this.
Exactly.
Thank you very much, Scott. Thank you. No, I'm sorry.
They'll watch it on the video.
They watch it on the video. On honey, Marissa. On honey. On honey.
I was about to say that she won't find the socks on Instagram, but we will put it on honey.
All right.
Right? She was saying, I hope I don't get posted on Instagram. I'd be like, oh, absolutely not.
Just on honey.
Yeah.
Perfect. I'll let you do that.
Great. Thank you so much. So as has become our custom with the people update, we're going to go through the new hires. We've got about 335 employees now, and we're still adding about 15 to 17 employees every month. So I think we've got about 17 or 18 slides to get through here. So we will keep it, as usual, at a little bit of a quick pace. If you are in the room, we ask that you stand up, or if you happen to be lingering in the hallway, if you can kind of come to the door while we talk through your slide, and we're just going to kind of quickly introduce you, and as goes our rhythm, we'll introduce, we'll welcome, we'll clap, and we'll kind of move to the next one. Okay? And maybe we'll dance in between. Get a rhythm, like a chicken dance in between each one going forward. I don't know. We'll come up with something fun for the future for us to get through these at a quick pace. So we do have a couple of people who should have made the last town hall, but for various reasons their slides didn't get in. So I do want to introduce Christopher Ellis, who hopefully is on the phone. He joined us in Fremantle on May 1st, and unfortunately he didn't get his slide to me last time because he had a knee surgery. So Chris is an avid musician, and hoping that his musical career will become amazing. But for now, he works for us as a database and data integration developer in Fremantle. So welcome, Chris. Our next new hire missed the last town hall as well. I think she started a few days before, and she said she was drinking from a fire hose and she didn't quite get my email and get her slide in on time. So hopefully she's on the phone right now as we introduce her. But Kristen Cisneros started as a medical science liaison in Southern California on May 13th. And Kristen, for those of you that were at Moy at ATC, there was a woman who was a patient speaker that she was reunited with. She was this woman's transplant coordinator, and it was really a touching, amazing story. And then also Kristen's provided some pictures here of some things that she likes to do. So welcome, Kristen. So starting on May 20th was Helen Zhu. Helen, are you in the, oh, there you are. Welcome, Helen. Helen loves to plant and has a garden full of flowers and fruits. So we'll be seeing flowers on your desk on a regular basis, right? Welcome, Helen. Camilla, there you are. Camilla joined us on May 28th as a staff scientist, and one of Camilla's goals for 2019 is to get her 4-year-old out of their training wheels. So we actually saw your 4-year-old at the kidney walk, right? On the no, it wasn't yours. Somebody else's on the maybe Natalie's kids that were on the bikes with the training wheels, maybe. So it's all R&D kids? Okay, so we got to work on getting the R&D kids out of the training wheels. So welcome, Camilla. Our next new hire is in Fremantle, so hopefully she's on the line. Her name's Lauren Glasson. She's a lab assistant. She enjoys baking in her very limited spare time because she's working in our lab in Fremantle with her 2 cute little sidekicks there. And she was calling me out here, so I provide my own slide from when I started as a sample of how to do your slide. And so she's like calling me out on whether I actually did what I said I was going to do on my slide, which, by the way, I didn't. So moving on. Welcome, Lauren. Our next new hire is Marco Scheller. I think I saw him in the room. Excellent. He's in the back. He's our VP of Program Management. He joined us on June 3rd, and he recently completed his first Century ride. Is that your actual bike there in the snow? It wasn't a Century ride in the snow, though, right? Okay. Welcome, Marco. Our next new hire is also in Australia, so hopefully she's on the line. Eileen Falvey. She's manufacturing and process development scientist. Eileen was originally from Ireland, and she loves going on camping trips with her husband and exploring Australia. So welcome, Eileen. Our next new hire is a new hire that's just going to be with us for a few weeks, so I had to slip it in here. Maggie, can you stand up? Maggie Phillips is our summer intern in the HR department, so she will only be with us for a few weeks, but I actually interviewed Maggie while she was in Spain, so she was working on a Spanish language immersion program. So welcome, Maggie. Our next new hire, Christopher Humans, I saw you over there. I was sitting next to you. Stand up. He joined us on June 6th as our Senior Director of Software Engineering, and Chris loves to cook and see movies on the weekend with his family. What was the most recent movie you saw?
Toy Story 4.
Oh, a good one. Welcome, Chris. Our next new hire is remote. Alana Burns joined us on June 10th as a regional senior clinical research associate, not clinical research assistant, clinical research associate. Do you want me to put it down here? See, I don't even need a mic. I could do it like this. She joined us on June 10th, and she loves home decorating and watching HGTV, which I do too. Kind of fun pastime. Our next new hire is also remote in Houston, Texas. So she joined us on June 10th. Elia Gomez is a transplant application specialist, and she has a twin brother, right? And his name is Elio, so Elia and Elio. And I also have fraternal twins, so boy, girl, right? And how many people ask me on a regular basis whether my children are identical? Like boy, girl. So apparently, Elia and I had a long conversation about this. Apparently, this is a common issue. Welcome, Elia. Our next new hire also joined us on June 10th. We had kind of a big class on June 10th. Lisa Carrillo is a reimbursement specialist. Oh, there she is. She's standing up right there. Welcome, Lisa. So you're a big 49er and Warrior fan. Warrior thing didn't work out so well, though, this year, didn't it? Okay, good. Welcome, Lisa. Our next new hire also joined us on June 10th, Denise Robinson. She is remote out of Atlanta, Georgia. She is in the reimbursement team. She is our Director of National Market Access, and she considers herself a foodie. She would like to meet the Barefoot Contessa. I'm sure she probably has a couple of her cookbooks, and she's also obsessed with sports TV. So welcome, Denise. Our next new hire is Laura Gale. She's a patient care manager in the New York metro area. Also joined us on June 10th, and she'd prefer riding her motorcycle or Vespa than driving in a car any day. So I'm assuming she has a motorcycle and a Vespa. I guess. I was trying to figure out whether she was saying she drives her car, but she'd prefer a motorcycle or a Vespa, or she has a motorcycle and a Vespa. Maybe she's just walking around taking pictures of other people's things. I don't know. But welcome, Laura. Our next new hire you heard from earlier, so stand up, Paul, just so people put face to the name. Why? Sure you did. What's your fun fact? This Spock thing is a fun fact. Who doesn't love a little sci-fi? So I guess you're a sci-fi lover, right? So Paul also joined us on June 10th, and he obviously talked through his role as general manager of the East, and is soon to be in Virginia. So do you want to share where you are at the moment?
See that picture in the middle with the ARG? So I live outside of Boston right now. So that was a storm that was the straw that broke on his back. So I had to go pick up my daughter from half the town that was out of power because she was stranded at her friend's house.
Oh. And I was trying to figure out what was wrong with that picture, that you weren't on it, that you weren't playing golf in it.
No, the length of time it takes to actually see green grass.
Oh, got it. Got it. Okay, well, you're moving, so it's all good. Welcome, Paul. Our next new hire joins the CTM team in Omaha, Nebraska. She is a clinical analyst, and she was born, is a born New Yorker. I'm assuming that means she was born in New York. A second-generation Italian from her father's side, and she currently holds dual citizenship in both the U.S. and Italy. So welcome, Victoria. I promise we're getting to the end. We only have about 25 more to go. Just kidding. Our next new hire joined us on June 19th. Claire, are you in the room? Claire Sherman? Oh, there you are. Excellent. Can you stand up for us? She joined us as our director of biostatistics, and she has a math-phobic twin sister. So a lot of twins. Welcome. Not identical. No. I believe that this is our last new hire. He just began this week. His name is Sam Simons. Sam, are you in the? Oh, there you are, standing over back in the doorway. Sam is a senior financial analyst, and every year since 2012, Sam has traveled to a new country. Sam's been to 17 countries and 5 continents. So what was the last country?
3 months in the Czech Republic.
Excellent. Welcome, Sam. So we're going to do spot awards a little bit differently than we have been doing them in the past. So our company is obviously growing really rapidly. I love the spot award program, and it's fantastic that we every single month receive lots of spot awards. So that's amazing. We want to keep recognizing each other for our contributions to the organization. But it's starting to get to the point where there's so many of them that we're not able to really, give them the attention that they deserve and the time that they deserve in this town hall type of setting, right? So what we've sort of decided to do is each town hall will highlight a few of the spot awards that we've received. We'll also put up the names of everyone else that was nominated for a spot award. And then on Honey, we'll detail some of the specifics of why people were given a spot award. And you can kind of read through on a monthly basis kind of what people were given the spot awards for. And that way we'll feel like that we're doing it the justice that it deserves. nerves in recognizing people appropriately and not rushing through them kind of at the end of the town hall, trying to get everybody in as quickly as possible. So a few that we've chosen to highlight for this month. One was Scott Rowe. And I feel like this one was especially, I'm going to, hide the dollar amount here. But I feel like this one was especially interesting in that every single one of Scott's coworkers signed this Spot Award before it was turned in, recognizing him for, his tireless contributions and long hours when we were having some IT issues back a few weeks ago. So, Scott, thank you. Robert, are you in the room? He's on the road. Okay. So Robert actually put forward several Spot Awards. Two that we wanted to highlight here was Jake and Carla for their efforts above and beyond for completing data for AlloMap Kidney in time for the data review at ATC. So we had to quickly put together data in order to be able to present at ATC. And so there are a couple more people that he recognized that aren't listed on the slide, but we'll make sure that those are posted on Honey as well. And then the last Spot Award that we wanted to recognize was Karina. Mark, are you around? No, Mark. Okay. So Mark recognized Karina for assisting the automation team on a couple of different occasions, but then he specifically calls out her help separating plasma. So congratulations, Karina. And then I do just want to list out here those that also received Spot Awards this month, and we'll make sure that we detail who gave you a Spot Award and also what was the purpose of you receiving the Spot Award.
Congratulations. Well,
Other announcements.
what other announcement is there?
Well, we have a special retirement this week.
Ooh. There's some things that are super exciting when a company is growing, and then there are moments as a CEO where you go, not so hot on. And that's when somebody is moving on. But we made sure that he's not moving on really, because we tied him down with a consultant contract until December 2020. And Jim, I think this does go as one of the longest, most frequent farewell parties that I have experienced. But it seems like over the last 4 weeks I've done a good 25% of nothing else than just wishing you a farewell. No.
But well deserved.
But absolutely, and there's a reason why. I think there's a reason why. So, for those of you that aspire to have the type of farewell that Jim Yee had or has, do the same level of contributions for the organization. It's amazing, Jim, what you have done with this team. You've been through the ups and downs of the organization for many years, but I think your reputation with clinical excellence, focus on quality, driving us through publications that will last forever, and I really mean forever, is simply amazing. So when we are clapping now, it's just see you again. I hope to see you in many more of these town halls, because they have been a sense of inspiration, I think, for all of us, as you have been. Thank you very much, Jim Yee.
I have to hold that for a minute. I have to do this quick jump for everybody. That's just to show I have a little bit of jump left in my legs. But it was really exciting for me to participate in this town hall from Peter's opening of the exciting future the company has of where we are today, and his visionary leading this company to its current and future success. And then hearing about all these new hires that so many came in during this last month here. But as I was getting down to my last official day tomorrow, I was beginning to have this kind of sense of withdrawal and anxiety that, well, what am I going to do on Monday? But fortunately, as Peter alluded to, a few people have indicated that my role as a consultant might be needed, so I'll look forward to that. But it's really been exciting to be part of this exciting adventure, and all of those who are newer, I wish you all the best and of success, and hopefully I'll see you somewhat in my consultant role.
Thank you very much.
So for those of you that are not on the phone and are sitting here in Brisbane, I think we do have some special treats that we can celebrate with Jim. I was told these were some of his favorites, so you are welcome to join us outside in the lobby area for some special treats.
Thank you very much, Marissa. Now, moving to Q&A. We do have a bit of time, and I know that you are today somewhat not very punchy. In the sense we started with like, okay, 2000 dressing grounds. No, but is there any question, any thoughts, any comments that you have? Any maybe concerns as well that you'd like to share? Because if you have it top of your mind, it's probably somebody else that thinks the same way. Yeah, Susan.
So the press release you had about the patent, could you just say a little bit more about what that encompasses?
Yeah, and maybe Sasha, did you want to comment on it?
Sure. So we had actually a couple of exciting press releases this week that we can share with all of you. The first was a couple days ago. We shared a press release that we have a new patent that was awarded to us on June 25th. And it essentially strengthens our position as a leader, an innovator in this space, and continuing to bring innovation to transplant patients. So it's another patent looking at cell-free DNA for transplant patients and strengthens our portfolio of offerings. Very exciting to see us continue to drive innovation in this space alongside collaborators in transplant.
And you know the patent, we have a 2014 patent on cell-free DNA, we have a 2017 patent on cell-free DNA, and now in 2019 we have again a patent in cell-free DNA. Why is this important?
Hey,
I think
hi Peter, this is Bethany.
Hi Bethany.
Bethany Gale from Mid-Atlantic. Sasha, I was hoping if maybe you could expand a little bit on the recent patent.
Sure. Do you have a specific question, Bethany, that you want me to expand on?
Yeah, the most recent patent, if you could just expand a little bit on kind of like what it encompassed and how it kind of strengthens our place in the market.
Sure. I would say it's a more specific patent on our cell-free DNA technology and provides us with we could share the specifics of the actual patent, but it goes into a little bit more specifics than our broader cell-free DNA patent portfolio had before. Do you want to give more specifics on that?
I think, and I was going that, and I think it just says that if you have a question, somebody else in the organization has the same question, right? So it's excellent. We have a 2014 patent, a 2017 patent, and now a 2019 patent, all for cell-free DNA. While the 14 and 17 cover us more on the shotgun and targeted sequencing, this is very targeted on an approach that maybe somebody else in the field uses, which we think will be encroached upon in our patent. So that's a very targeted patent and very smartly written. What I wanted to say is that IP is important in diagnostic, but it might not be the only thing that is important. Right now we're debating within the team, is transplantation a natural occurrence? Transplanting a patient, is that a natural occurrence? Seems pretty human to me that somebody, so I'm just giving you, there's a wider range of issues in this patent litigation, and it will have some fun going forward. Did you want to comment on it? Please.
I wanted to ask, who are the inventors?
The inventors.
Yes.
There are a series of inventors. One really focused on Stanford. So Stanford has been inventing a lot of the cell-free DNA. Steve Quake has been really at the core of the invention. But then there's own IP from our side as well, where Robert and the team continues to drive the science and have patent approaches as well.
No, but I mean on this latest patent, or if you knew the specific inventors.
I'm pretty sure that we were the inventors behind that patent, but that's a really good question. I'll come back to you on that. This is the moment where Robert would jump up.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah, it is public knowledge. So with the inventors, you'll find it under the number. We did publish the number, yeah, so you'll find, and you'll have easy access to that as well. Maybe, Maritza, do you know?
Yeah, it's a Quake.
It is a Quake patent.
It's a Quake. It's an extension of the 2014 Stanford patent authored by Quake.
Look at this. We always have somebody in the village who has the answer. Thank you. A continuation of the 2014 patent. Great. Another question. And Bethany, if you have very specific question, I sense that maybe you got a question from the field on that, right? Let us know, because how we are answering those questions to our opinion leaders or our customers is very critical. And you know, I'm not present to do the best job ever on some of that, but if we're thinking about it and combined, I think we're getting you the right answer.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I'll definitely follow up with Sasha, and we'll be good.
But what's very important is, what's important is that we continue to innovate in the space, right? If you see us as we're developing new technology, we continue to be leading in innovation in transplantation. And the signal, sending that through a press release was also very important, that once in a while you want to comment on and strengthen the posture of the company. Another question. All right. So what's happening in July? What's happening in July, among the many things that is happening, is we'll be hopefully advancing the immuno bill. You know, Medicare patients, 3 years after transplantation, Medicare stops paying for it. And we just learned that there's probably going to be an announcement on July 11th. Right? They're fighting right now in Washington, as they do seem to be doing. Right? Who's making the announcement? And so it might be in 2 offices or branches on government. And then soon as we know, that is going to be exciting, because 9 months ago, when we were saying we're going to take that on as CareDx, a lot of people said, oh, has been tried 9 times, 10 times, won't happen. But it really, there's a lot of momentum that we were able to create, and that would be a huge contribution to the field of transplantation again. So very excited about that development as well. All right, one last question, then let you go. Everybody looks down. Who do I pick on? Maybe the new intern. How do you like the town hall? It's okay. That's amazing. Thank you so much. You are about 100% more excited than my daughter. Thank you. All right. Well, without further ado, thank you very much for coming for the town hall. We can always improve. If there's feedback, please let us know. If it's positive feedback, send it to me. If it's things to improve, Marissa is the right person. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. Good job. Did we ask them? We said they could have stayed this time. But then somebody took them on.
Yeah. Well, the patient, Jana had to go. She had her flight, but I thought that Audrey would stay, but maybe the patient.
Good job.
Yeah. The extra legroom seat.
I was so impressed. We had lunch with